Hey Matt, tell us what happened when you went up to Orange the first time.
All right, so first time I went to Orange was with Pastor Mark. We went there, I hadn't known him long, but we went there for a skate comp. I have a clothing label, and I was emceeing the event in Orange, and I was also providing t-shirts for prizes and things. Anyway, so Pastor Mark came up, he set up a shade tent to the side of the skate park, and I was sort of calling out names and heats and things over the microphone. Pastor Mark was a bit sort of restless because he likes to preach over the microphone just the gospel, but he wasn't allowed to use the speaker because the guy, the organisation didn't allow it, who was running the event. They were Christian and stuff, but they just didn't want to do it for whatever reason. Anyway, so it was probably 2 or 3 hours before we actually got anything happening, and Pastor Mark's got people praying. Anyway, a kid comes up and asks me if he wants to get sponsored. He wants to be sponsored by me, and I said, well, if you want to be sponsored, you need to follow Jesus. Go and see Pastor Mark. So the first kid went down, Pastor Mark led him to Jesus and prayed with him, and he encountered the Holy Spirit and went down on the ground and for all to see in the skate park. And it was really cool because, all the other kids in the skate park are thinking, what on earth's going on here? And even the Christians were like, oh, okay, Christians get a little bit edgy because they don't want to step on anyone's toes. Anyway, see, he stays down on the ground for like 5 minutes, I think, and then he gets up and then he runs off and he starts telling his mates. Anyway, so more kids come. I think about 10 or 11 kids were lined up at one stage. They'd come and I'd said, yep, you can get sponsored, but come down here, I'm going to take you down to the tent. And by that stage, someone else took over for the emceeing, and I went down with Pastor Mark, and they're all lined up. And so he prays for about 10 or 11 kids, and they're all encountering the Holy Spirit. And they're all just laid out on the grass in the middle of the skate park, on the middle of the town, really. And there's people driving past and looking and thinking what's going on, and everyone in the skate park's watching. Anyway, those kids get up, and one kid in particular just runs off and just starts grabbing his mates and dragging them back. And by the end of the day, honestly, this kid had just dragged the whole skate park down there. And there would have been 40 kids, 45 kids probably, and probably 15 on the ground at one time, It was unbelievable. And the most amazing thing about it was, that was pretty amazing. But there was one guy who, the day before, we actually went down the skate park without Pastor Mark, and we were trying to talk to him, and they were just insulting us and cursing us and all this stuff. And I said, I'll be back tomorrow, and God's going to prove that Jesus is alive and he's real. And there was one kid there who was really, really angry and really hateful towards us. And that kid, after everyone else had come down and got prayer the next day, he actually came down. And it was just such an amazing sight because his heart had fully changed. And he'd seen the evidence that God was there. And he did. He repented. He actually received Jesus. And his whole demeanour, his whole attitude completely changed. And then after that, all the kids had pretty much stopped skating. And I think the skate comp had finished by this stage. And they were all just talking and just in a massive big group, just like fellowshipping together in the skate park. And not one of them was riding. And the kids were saying things like, "Oh, if I can bunny hop 6 times, I'm going to be the strongest follower of Jesus there is." And so that was the first trip to Orange. Jesus just done what he does, just amazing stuff.
Thanks, Matt.